As a poli-sci major, I enjoy boring stuff. That might be true, but infrastructure is, while mundane, an essential part of how America functions. If you think about it, if you have to go from Monroe to Shreveport, what are you going to use? A highway, an interstate? If you're going to take a shower, what are you going to use? You're going to use water put in place by our public water systems. These are all infrastructure. And through this presentation, we're going to learn what infrastructure is, how it came into place, and we're going to learn what you can do in taking ownership of the fact that the infrastructure is crumbling and how we can better infrastructure and the steps that we can take it. First, what is infrastructure? It seems like a big word, right? Well, according to politics and policies in states and communities, infrastructure is the physical infrastructure, which includes roads, transportation systems, housing, and community development projects. Now, that seems to encompass a lot. The main worry that you're going to ever see, especially in the media, is with roads, because that's what we deal with every day. But there are other elements that we don't think about or that we take for granted. Now, how did this infrastructure come into play? In the 1930s, our country was in the Great Depression. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was elected, and part of his campaign platform was this broad idea called the New Deal. And what the New Deal was meant to do was to put communities to work. And what are you going to do whenever you have millions of men and women who need jobs? You're going to put them building stuff. And so you had a vast structure called the alphabet soup with different corporations, bureaucracy grew, and you had different parts of the bureaucracy called the BBC, the CCC, and other agencies. They were building highways, they were building interstates that we now have today, they were building the Hoover Dam. They were building. And that was in the 1930s, and it lasted all the way up into the 1950s, late 50s, early 60s. And then it stopped because our economy was in a good spot. So if you don't need your citizens to have jobs anymore in that industry, you stop it, right? Well, nobody thought about how you maintain it. Although we do have bills in place, funds siphoned off for the maintaining, it's not nearly enough because so much was built during that time period that we're not physically given the amount of money proportionate to the amount that is needed to be renovated, maintained, and innovation. Innovation that is not the technology of the 50s and the 60s, but is the technology of the future. Ecologically sound and safe for the environment that it will be taking over, and that can be more proficient, more cost effective and less cost to the public tax dollar. That is what we need, but we're not seeing that. Now, according to U.S. News, you really want to know how bad it is? It's quite bad. The American Society of Civil Engineers, recently in 2015, gave the America infrastructure a D+ rating. That's on items of infrastructure, city development, roadways, insufficient waterways, and a pressing need for modernization. That means, such as in Flint, Michigan, water in the pipes that had lead that was coming off. That's what we need in this country. Now, you might be asking, what can I do? I'm just a 20-something demographic that doesn't really have a voice. Well, you'd be wrong there. Your part is to call up your representatives, your elected officials. Their job is to listen to you, because they made you a campaign promise to listen to you. And if you tell them, I want you to vote for infrastructure development, they're going to vote for infrastructure development. Also, you vote. You get registered, and you vote not only in the national elections, but in your local elections, because it all trickles down, and every part of the government makes a difference in some form or fashion. no matter how small you think it is. For example, our two candidates, they both agree on infrastructure. That might be one of the only things that they agree on. But for example, according to U.S. News, Donald Trump has reportedly spoken out in favor of investing federal dollars into the domestic construction and rebuilding projects to get the country's roadways and economic systems back on track. We also have the New York Times, which reported on Hillary Clinton and her plan to increase federal investments in the infrastructure. It is particularly a good idea, they state, approved by most economists, labor unions, and even the Chamber of Commerce. Now, both candidates are what they are, but your job is really to vote for the plan that you think is going to help the infrastructure the most. And I'll leave you with this thought. We've looked at how infrastructure began, what exactly it is, and just how bad it is. According to a New York Times op-ed piece, it is not just about roads and waterways and bridges, although they are important. It also is about schools and the electrical grid and the environment and the technological innovation needed. These are all important, and your part is to voice your opinion. Thank you.